Hey, Fort Bend County. Early voting has started, and we have two very important bond initiatives on the ballot for voter approval. What we're asking residents to consider is a $712 million mobility bond and a $153 million parks bond. Now, there's been a lot of misinformation about them, like folks saying that these bonds are going to raise your taxes. That's flat out false. We'll get back to that, but let's break down what's in these bonds, why they're important, and what it's going to mean for your wallet. First, these bonds are important to the health and safety of our community. If you hate sitting in traffic and believe that we need to do more to make our streets safer, the mobility and parks bonds are a start to get us there. Included in these bonds are improvements to roads that are well past their lifespan and intersection improvements to make our roads safer for both pedestrians and cyclists. I'm sure you've seen the recent news about residents who have been fatally struck by cars. And we also know that the greater Houston area leads the entire nation in the number of traffic fatalities. We've got to do more to improve the safety of our roadways. Beyond that, we know that parks and recreational facilities improve the quality and safety of our communities. The more we invest in parks and recreation, the less we spend on healthcare and crime. Regardless of whether you live within a city or in unincorporated parts of the county, residents have the right to access high-quality amenities like parks and facilities that support healthy living and community connections. I have to underscore that there are some people who live in certain sweet communities who believe that certain people should benefit from parks and roadway improvements more than others. This bond gets at those equity issues and has significant investments in communities throughout the county. Second, these bonds are not going to raise your taxes. Our financial advisors have told us that we have the capacity to take on nearly $1.7 billion more in bonds without impacting our tax rate a single penny. Now, why is that? Because we only move projects forward at the pace that we can afford. It's important that folks understand that voter approval simply means you are approving the overall budgets and the projects themselves. We don't spend any money in that budget until we need to spend it. That's why we do still have unspent funds from previous bonds, because these are essentially prior budgets for different projects that we are still slowly paying for as we move them towards completion. In fact, the county has been so financially responsible that we were able to ask for another bond without your county tax rate increasing. This year, we lowered the tax rate yet again. Now, you may ask, why do we need these bonds? Well, because our county is growing, and it's growing really fast. Also, state law has changed, and far more residents live outside the city limits than live within a city. As a result, the county is increasingly responsible for providing city-like services, things like parks and rec, an expansive library system, permitting and inspections for businesses, public health, animal services, public safety, and so much more. The county, for example, is responsible for maintaining 2,200 miles of roads, and that number grows every month. If we were to attempt to repair or reconstruct all 2,200 miles, that would cost us more than $15 billion. This bond is just a drop in the bucket by comparison. It's important to know that this is a prioritized list of needs based on data that our engineers and road and bridge professionals maintain about the quality of infrastructure in our community, as well as our future growth. We know that the needs in our community are far greater than what we're asking for, but we had to cut significant parts of the requested projects to remain budget conscious for our taxpayers. And for those who say that we're asking for too much, consider this. Williamson County, which has a population of nearly 700,000 residents, approved an $825 million mobility bond. Now that's compared to Fort Bend's population of over 900,000 residents and a $712 million mobility bond. And Dallas is in the middle of a $399 million parks bond compared to our parks bond that is less than half that amount. Our community is playing catch up and making investments that should have been made decades ago and would have cost us a fraction of what it costs today. The other thing to note is that we will be using portions of these bond funds as our required local match for the billions of dollars in public infrastructure funds coming from the state and federal governments. We understand that property tax bills are too high. That's why the county is also partnering with our cities and municipal utility districts on many of these projects. If the county is able to contribute to cities and MUDs in the way that the state often contributes to counties, that saves everyone money by keeping them from raising their taxes. So as you inform yourself about this year's bond initiatives, please make sure you protect yourself and your neighbors against misinformation. So to summarize, 1. Fort Bend County Propositions A and B are the Mobility and Parks Bond. 2. The bonds passing will not increase your county tax rate. In fact, we'll probably lower it again next year. And 3. Supporting these bonds supports infrastructure all across the county to make life healthier and safer for every resident. So all in all, I can't tell you how to vote, but I can tell you these bonds will improve traffic congestion, improve public safety and health, and expand important amenities for children, seniors, and everyone in between. These bonds are good for your wallet and your quality of life.